Hey, real quick, before we dive in, if you're an agency owner who is doing everything yourself, I want to let you know about this 7-day free trial opening up for the agency playbook. This is our full 8 system framework that over 20,000 agency owners have used to scale smarter. This is the exact system that I normally sell for over $1,600, but right now you can dive in and test it out. If you're ready to stop winging it and start building an agency that runs without you, head over to jasonswank.com/playbook. That's jasonswank.com/playbook. Hey, Sean, welcome to the show.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, tell us who you are, what you do.
So my name's Sean Hakes, and I've been building digital marketing agencies from about the early 2000s.
Okay. And how'd you get into it?
Kind of by accident. I was working for another company, broke a website of theirs on accident. So I had to learn how to build the website back. So I quickly learned HTML and all that. But I've always wanted to get into my own business. So I ended up leaving there and starting a small web design and SEO business. I actually reached out to the first SEO in the space at the time to give me a quote, Bruce Clay. And I couldn't afford him at that time. I made like no money. So I was like, hey, maybe I could figure this SEO thing out. And so I started trial and error. And back then it was a lot easier, but
what year was it?
Trial to friends and family. It was like 2001, 2002.
Oh, I mean, that's back when I would actually take all the keywords and make them the same color as the background.
Totally. Yeah. Really easy. So
yeah, exactly. That was good times. And programming websites back then, I remember I would program everything in like tables.
Yep.
Like TDs and TRs. And, I'd repeat the background in the back of the, the TD or TR. I can't remember. Hell, I even remember the change mode 755 to make an image viewable.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. I think I used, I don't know if maybe it was Front Page back then. It was one of the old school builders.
I used Front Page and Dreamweaver, and everybody made fun of me with Front Page, but I was like, my websites look so much better than your crappy ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
All right. So you were an accidental agency owner. How long did you run that agency till you sold it? And then we'll kind of backwards into it.
Yeah. So my first one is probably about a year. It wasn't very long.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I was new. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I think our team, we had 3 or 4 people on there, and built a pretty decent presence in Denver, and had someone reach out to me about acquiring it. So, it wasn't a lot of money. I didn't really know anything about evaluations or anything like that. I probably gave it away, at that time, but that's what really piqued my interest in growing it a little bit bigger next time and learning from what I did on that first one.
So when they reached out and said, I want to buy you, why would they want to buy you at 3 people back then? What was it?
I think it was because mostly our web visibility. So our rankings were good. We got a lot of good leads from our website. And so I think that's what really attracted them to that business.
And what was your revenue around that point? Under $1 million?
No, yeah, we were doing probably 300,000-400,000 a year.
Okay.
I mean, we were kind of bootstrapping it. No one really made a lot of money. We were just kind of like a small passion project.
And you don't have to tell us the numbers of the deal, but what was the structure of the deal for? Like, was it cash up front? Was it stay with the company? Was it a roll up? Was it ownership?
But yeah, just basically an asset sell. And it was not very much. I probably would have made more staying there. But, at that point I was still young and learning. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I'll get a little bit of cash in my pocket. And I just remember literally like going to the ATM machines and pulling out as much as I could. And I was just like handing them to the team members, the staff, like, here you go, here's some cash, just kind of like passing it out like candy. It wasn't life-changing, but it was enough to change my perspective.
Did you have a non-compete?
No.
What?
Yeah, it was a company out of state. Yeah. And it was, like I said, I think both of us, the buyer and myself, were pretty new to this.
Wow. And so what'd you do after you sold? Did you take a little bit of time off, or did you start another thing up?
Yeah, I took a little bit of time off. I learned after that I wasn't good at a lot of other things. So I tried like a landscaping business. I tried like a lot of random things. I did have a trucking company, hotshot trucking company, for a little bit that did pretty well during a non-compete from another one. But yeah, I took some time off, and then I'm like, man, I don't know how to make money doing anything else. at this point, so I started taking on clients again.
And fast forward on that agency, you sold that one as well. How many years did you have that?
My second one, I think I probably had it for about 3 or 4 years.
Okay. And what did you do different than the first one?
So this one, I found a partner to help me out, someone that filled the void where I wasn't necessarily proficient in. Friend of mine I met, we were out slinging, no joke, diamonds. We were brokering diamonds for another company. So we were going out to Vegas to some show. And we started talking marketing. And this guy was great. I said, hey, you should join me. And anyway, so long story short, he was great at sales. I wasn't. I was good at the operational side. So, he told me he would bring on a big book of business. And I said, okay. And he did. So
very cool. How big did you grow that agency?
That one, we were probably about 3 million or so when we sold it.
Did someone approach you over the email, or you were like, hey, it's time to sell?
Yeah. So my partner at the time, we talked about it and we're like, let's sell. He had kind of a financial background, so it worked out. I did not. So he made sure all the books and everything were cleaned up. We actually went to a broker a year before. And when we were looking at that valuation, we didn't know anything about EBITDA or anything like that. So when we got the evaluation, we're like, man, we're worth nothing. So we changed the business for that year. We started doing contracts because that's one of the things a lot of the buyers wanted to see. We started getting rid of, random discretionary spending on, whether it was going out to lunches like crazy or whatever, buying a million different software tools, even though they probably could have been considered add backs. We just trimmed down the business quite a bit, our spending to make as much cash available as possible.
Yeah. What was the original number that they said you were worth when you were shocked?
It was like, $100,000 or something like that. I was like,
yeah.
I was like, this is crazy because we didn't have a lot of profitability.
Yeah. But it's amazing. A lot of agency owners, including myself a long, long time ago, you think if you're millions and millions of dollars that you're worth a lot, but top line doesn't mean anything. There's a lot of value adders and value detractors too, outside of profit, but profit's a pretty big one for our type of business, not technology. Technology, I should have gotten in the technology space.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you get some good multiples.
What did you learn about going through the second acquisition?
So that one we got a broker and they put us on biz buy sell and brought in a bunch of potential buyers for us and we interviewed them. It was kind of interesting because we had all these interviews lined up with people flying into town and things like that. And it was cool. At that time, my experience wasn't that high still in buying and selling these agencies. So the broker at that point was, help open my eyes with how structured deals go and stuff like that and different structures and how there's really millions of different structures. So there's one that's, I guess, probably the biggest thing I learned. It's like when someone comes to you with an acquisition opportunity, there's a million different creative ways you can restructure that. So that's one of the things I learned with that. The brokers are expensive, very expensive. We spent a lot of money on this broker and in the contract, we continued to pay the broker over the years, through a percentage of our earnouts and owner carry and some other things that we negotiated into that deal.
Okay. So it wasn't based on just the initial valuation. Was it a percentage?
Yeah. So I think this deal, it was about half cash down and then the rest of it was through owner carry. And then we had and it wasn't even a full 50% the difference. I think it was like 30% and then 20% was based on an earnout. So we could have hit that 20%. Maybe we didn't. Maybe we went above it. We ended up going above it. So it worked out. But yeah, that's how we structured it. And all the deals that we got offered, we ended up taking probably the least aggressive deal, which when I look back on it, I think it was a good decision because the team that was taking over the company, we had way more confidence in them. It was a private equity group that had specifically sourced people in our industry to run the company that had experience in it and genuinely cared about the team and the clients moving forward. So that was cool versus like we had some random companies, like a guy that owned a bunch of clubs in New York City that wanted to buy it and just kind of a lot of random, things come through. So we ended up going with these guys for that reason.
With the broker, were they
specific for agencies, or were they just a general business broker?
General business, I would say. Yeah, I mean, I think they had a couple agencies they had worked with in the past. I think it would be great if there was a brokerage that was specifically for agencies, because it's, a unique market, and you have to know it inside and out to get the best value for it.
Hi there, agency owners. Let me ask you, are you ready to scale your agency without increasing your overhead costs? If yes, then you need to know about E2M Solutions. Now, E2M is the number one most reliable white label partner for agencies. They specialize in web design, WordPress development, e-commerce, SEO, and content writing. They basically do all the heavy lifting, which frees you up to focus on growing your agency. Now, here's the best part. E2M is just not another vendor. With over 10 years of experience, their team of over 300 experts has a track record of delivering for more than 300 agencies. They're your strategic partner. They deliver on time every time, so you can focus on what you do best. Now, E2M's mission is simple: to help 500 agencies increase their revenue and profit margins with white label services that actually work. And to help you get started, they're offering a special deal, 10% off for the first 3 months, but act fast because it's only a limited time offer. So head over to e2msolutions.com/smartagency to check out their transparent and their flexible pricing. Trust me, if you're ready to grow without burning out, E2M is the partner you've been looking for. That's e2msolutions.com/smartagency. Go check them out and tell them Jason Swank sent you. What would you have done different with this deal?
Well, I mean, if I had the knowledge that I had now, I wouldn't have used a broker. I would have, now that I know deal structures and how flexible they are, and not being afraid to ask. It's a lot of times I think when you have a buyer come to you, you're like, I got to take this deal, so I'm going to just do whatever they say. But there's a lot of buyers out there. The buyer pool is huge, so probably not taking the first decent deal you get or offer.
Well, I mean, I always tell everybody, the first offer, always say no. My buddy back in Atlanta, he created Pardot, and he said no like 3 times. Like the first offer was like 20 million. Next was like 50 million. They finally settled for 100 million in cash.
Wow.
That's why we got in the wrong industry with technology. I was like, damn, David, you should have done my deal. That's not fair. But what about like, you said there was an earnout. A lot of times, earnouts are designed to make the seller not hit it, which is unfortunate. So it sounds like you guys hit your earnout. So how did you do that?
So my partner and I were determined to do it. So we ended up staying on the sales team. We got commission from the earnout, basically, is all that happened, but we stayed on for free. We had our cash up front. We had our owner note, which kind of served as almost like a salary for ourselves, to keep us going, and then to make sure that the organization hit those earnouts. And so we stayed on, essentially volunteering our time until we hit that earnout. And we did. I mean, we had these different elevators each year. It went up, different revenue goal. And I think the first year we were like 6 months into it, we hit it, but then we were getting pretty significant monthly payouts through the end of the year. And then it reset again the next year.
So what I've always told people, and what I've learned over the years, is when buyers start asking you for performa or projections, a lot of people, they want to make it look really good, and they go, hey, we're going to grow at almost double, or we're going to grow at 50% or 100% or whatever it is. And I think that's setting people up for failure, versus I tell people, I'm like, hey, we're just going to do a steady growth this year. We're going to grow at 10%. And that's what they set the earnout on.
Right. Yep.
So did you sandbag them?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. Yeah, I mean, we were conservative for sure on what we thought, and that was intentional. But also, I mean, the earnout was, the elevators were still fairly aggressive. But we hit it. And then on another note too, we knew we were going to hit those numbers, and we knew that the broker's pay was tied to those numbers. So we offered them I forget what it was, but it's something like, hey, we're going to buy you out of this contract to make money off this earnout that we knew that we were going to hit because, we knew what we were going to sell. So we offered them like $30,000 or something like that, which at the time was like $1 million to us. But we offered him that to basically get out of that piece of the contract, and he took it. And so that's great. So we were able to keep 100% of the earnout that we earned after that.
That's good. That's good. And did you have a non-compete with that company or another?
Yeah, so that one had a crazy non-compete. It was like 7 years.
What?
Probably not enforceable, but yeah, it was very lengthy, very restrictive, and I think I got about 5 years into it where I was like, all right, this I need to do something else because I'm running out of my reserves, that I saved from the deal, and I didn't want to go into savings, so I went to him and I said, I'm starting another company up. I know I'm still in the non-compete phase, but I have to do it. So either let's play nice and, I won't go after any of your customers, anything like that. You don't try to enforce something that probably is not enforceable anyway. But so I was stressing out about it, and they came back to me and they're like, we want to partner with you. No way. Totally cool. Yeah. You have our blessing. Go and do it and things like that. So I was stressing for no reason. So they were supporting the idea. They even gave me some of my old domain names back. They had bought my personal domain as part of the deal, my name, because I was a big lead generator at the time. And they even gave that back to me. So it was cool. It worked out.
That's good. And so now you're doing another agency. So kind of like all us agency owners, we don't know anything else. So when did you start that one?
So there's another one called Altitude that I started in 2011-ish. We ran that for about 5 years, and then we merged it. So the acquisition model this time was through basically merging two companies through a cashless merger to make the revenue higher, the valuations. And so we merged them. And then in about a year after merging them, we got a pretty good random offer through a guy that's in one of our networks that they're like, hey, we have to buy a company for tax purposes and whatever. And that one was different because it was full multiples that we were looking for, but it was also cash up front. And they only wanted to keep one person on board, to help. We had like 4 of us, running that company. But it's pretty cool because I got 100% up front and moved down to South Carolina to be, by the beach, stuff like that, and start a fishing charter and do all this stuff that I've wanted to do over the years. And it was really cool. So, and they didn't have a non-compete really either. They just said, just stay out of our 30-mile radius market and go do what you want to do. So
that's crazy.
Great. Yeah. So when you go to negotiate, I had 2 of the extremes. I had the 7-year crazy restrictive ones where I couldn't do anything really that had to do with marketing. And then this other one where they're just like, yeah, just stay out of our backyard and you can do whatever you want. So.
Wow. And how long did the charter boat captain or owning the charter boat work out? Because it's kind of almost like, it's a old story I've always heard. It's like this guy just works his ass off all his life and, hardly spends any time with his kids or his family, just works all his life, sells his company, goes down to Florida to do a fishing charter and go fishing all day. And he's like, man, I could have done this all. I didn't have to do all the 20 years building up to it.
Yeah, it was a lot less than I expected to get into, for sure. And my mind's always in marketing. So I'm always figuring out like, all right, how do I run this charter? So it's not like every other charter, so I structure it in a way that, whether it's outsourcing captains and how I bring in the marketing and partnerships and sponsorships and all this other stuff with it. But yeah, I did it for a couple years. The saying about boats, like you're the most happiest when you buy it and sell it, is true. Like this, the boat that I bought was brand new, but it's during COVID and stuff like that. And I think it was one of those COVID build type of deals. So it spent probably a good year of those 2 years in the shop, in and out of the shop where I wasn't able to use it. But I have a lot of good memories going 60 miles offshore and catching mahi and things like that. So I was able to live my personal dream.
There you go. That's awesome. That's cool. And then what made you want to get back into agency life?
So a friend of mine, who's my partner now at Simpler, he's always worked for a competitor. We've known each other for forever, and he made good money with, this big box digital marketing company, but he's to that age where he wants to start thinking about retiring. And I'm like, you're not going to retire working for someone else. Why don't you start an agency with me? Big sales guy, a lot of connections and stuff like that. So we just started doing it for fun, picking a couple clients here and there. And then we decided to put them together, our little client portfolio that we had, into one. And that, doing so kind of created a real business. So we're like, oh, I guess we're all in now. And we grew that pretty quick. And the interesting thing was the company that I had sold previously to the guys I was telling you that gave us the 100%, cash deal up front, came back to me and said, hey, would you be interested in buying this back? Because they had something internally going on where that company was crashing. It was crashing quickly because of how it was being managed and how they were changing products and things like that. And they were outsourcing SEO teams that weren't actually doing anything. So a lot of angry clients and things like that. So we ended up buying it back at the beginning of last year and closing on it. And it was a sinking ship, but we turned it around in a couple months, brought on some of their team members, kind of made them re-interview with us because it's a new company, and kept some of the ones. And then all my team members that have over the years been let go by whether it's that previous company and other people, I brought most of them back. So we got kind of the original OGs, I guess, back in the company now. And it's a lot of fun.
That's fun. That's awesome. I presume you probably got a pretty good deal on buying back your old company.
Oh yeah. I got a great deal. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When we, we're chatting at Agency Con, I was like, man, this is a pretty fascinating story of selling these agencies and the non-competes and then the buying it back and boat captain and trucking. I was like, good guy. Like, you have to be doing, like, you're probably that kid that could never sit still. Do I get that pinned down?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I couldn't hold a job for anything when I was in high school. My parents were like, what is this kid's problem? Like, I get bored after 3 weeks and move to the next thing. But I like a lot of new things. I also, when I moved out to South Carolina, started a co-working space too. They didn't have anything like that in South Carolina. Everything was, that the place that we were at, which is between Myrtle Beach and Charleston, is like decades behind everyone else. So started a co-working space as well, which took about a year to finally catch on to what that concept was. It was a big breaking story there. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Well, cool. Well, Sean, this has all been great. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit the listeners?
No, I would just say, if you are thinking about buying or selling, definitely consider what we talked about, on whether or not using a broker makes sense for you. And don't be afraid to be aggressive, with what you're asking for.
Yeah. Another thing too, I think is important to know is a lot of people that have a broker, there's a lot of great brokers out there. There's a lot of bad brokers. And when you get to the final hour of thinking of selling your agency, you could never rely on the broker to say, yes, you should do it or no, because they're incentivized if you do it. They don't get paid if they don't. So just keep that in mind. There's a lot of great brokers out there. And if you guys want any introductions, let me know. I'm happy to introduce you to a few that we recommend, but just keep that in mind. Always look at the person that has they're not going to get paid for your success or your failure. They'll give you the best advice.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Sean, for coming on the show. And everyone, if you enjoyed this, make sure you comment, like, subscribe on whatever platform you're on. And until next time, have a swing day.